Hi there, I'm Allie Elliott.
Hi everybody, I'm Allie Elliott. I'm back today to finish up a composite, maybe finish up. We'll get really close if we don't completely finish it up. But today is Valentine's Day Eve, Super Bowl Sunday, all kinds of reasons to party. So thank you for being here or for joining me on YouTube, wherever you're watching from. Thank you. Let's get into it because I've been thinking about this since yesterday, since we wrapped up where we're at to this point. So I think what needs to happen is, I think I'm going to go with the color balloons. And where did I put the, okay, so these two balloons are completely separate. So I think I like the proportion of her to the balloons. So I'm going to take the balloons and her, and we're just going to size them down a little bit because I'm going to change the layout of the sky just slightly. And I'm going to do away with that flower that's under, oh, I guess I already kind of did do away with it. But right now we've got like this Teletubby set looking background. We're going to change that. And we're going to work on her lighting, her coloring, all that good stuff. So I'm going to bring these down just a touch because I don't want them to blend. So we're at 73 there, and let's see these floating balloons. Let's bring those kind of down in the same ballpark. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna save that. And then I'm gonna move the storm clouds a little bit. So I want it to mainly be a sunny day. And I'm gonna pull this over here and try to find, ooh, okay, I just thought of a session that I did that might have the kind of sky in it that I'm looking for. So I want a bright sunny day, but we're gonna move these stormy borderline clouds kind of back behind her so that we can really do some directional beams of light. But on this side, I want bright, fluffy clouds, blue sky, that kind of a bright light day. But it needs to have some directional light too, because all the light is on the camera right side of her face. So I have a specific client that I know we did an outside session last year, and I'm pretty sure it was a nice sunny day. So let's see here. 8-3. That'll do. Okay. So I'm going to hide that for now. We're probably going to have to piece a lot of this together. And I'm going to go right along this tree line so that, whoops, so that it's not something that I forget later. And so let's copy this. My nose itches. I'm going to duplicate that layer and then probably have to separate. Let's see, do I want to flip it? I don't even think I want to flip it. I'll tell you what, let's go back and not take the whole layer. Let's just take, and I know she's not on that layer, but for whatever reason, my brain is like, nope. Let's see, we'll smush it a little bit. see what we think of that flipped. Yeah, that might be a little closer. Let's see here, and then we can erase back some of this blue. I hate to give up those gorgeous dimensional clouds. That was a weird delay. So I don't want to erase that back completely, but I'm going to kind of get in there and get some dimension. I like that so far. I kind of wish I had left that, so I might just get a big, generous, I'm not going to go 100% because I don't want a hard line, and I definitely don't want it to look copy and pasted or anything like that. We'll just lightly go over that. Okay, and then we've got kind of this hard edge here. So I'm going to go into my burn. And again, as with always, when we're burning down, I want to make sure that I'm not draining the color, because that's really dark already, and that might be too dark for our purposes. So let's merge those. And erase this kind of grayed out. We don't need that. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate that and hide one. And then we'll go in with the eraser and just keep adding some dimension. That might, so this, whoops, this cloud right here that has a real distinct shape is mimicked here, and I want to make sure that I don't do that. So rather than do that, we'll just put some color back there. Okay, so I like that a lot better. It's not drawing too much of the attention, and then when we get in there and dodge and burn, it can make a big impact. So we still have to, I'm going to save that, and we have to address the Teletubby ground scenario we got going here. So I am going to merge those layers. No, why do I keep doing that? And I'm not going to copy it, but I have to wait because I hit it by accident. Okay, and then we'll duplicate, and then we're going to go in and start getting the party started. But first, I'm going to save it as a new copy, and it's going to be progress 4. Okay. All right. So before I keep going, let's go ahead and copy her, duplicate the layer, hide one, and then I'm going to go in with a really small, pretty light-handed smudge tool. So 16 is kind of heavy. I'm going to grab my stylus here and just, there's not a lot, it's such a small, I just want to make sure that texture is beautifully uniform, maintain her eyelashes. Keep those little shadows intact. Beautiful. All right, and I want to go in with her hair too and make sure that these little windy spots are not too jagged on their edges. I love those little baby hairs around her face. Okay, try not to look angry. I tend to stick my tongue out and kind of furrow my brow. And I do want to address this side of her hair at some point, but that'll be the detail stage for sure. Okay. I wasn't sure if anybody would even be on today, but I need to work on this, so here I am. Okay, beautiful. So I've got some color bleed going on right here. How I will rectify that is when I'm going in and dodging and burning and doing all that stuff towards the end of the process, then I can clean up the colors that got a little astray. And sometimes just playing in the light and shadows will take care of that. That's pretty strong bleed though, so we'll see about that. Okay, so I wasn't even planning to do that, but now I can't, whoops, now I can't stop myself. Okay. But I have to, because we've got other stuff that comes before. I always want to skip ahead a little bit, because that's the stuff at the end is the stuff with a big impact that really, when you back up from looking at it, it really comes together. And a little shadow across her face, we'll address that too. All right. Okay. All right, so I like the clouds a lot better. As far as the rest of that goes, we will handle that. I think what I will do here is duplicate the colored clouds, and then I'm going to bring their saturation down just a little bit because it's just almost too powerful. I want it subtle. And where were we at? Oh, I didn't look. So I'll have to eyeball this a little bit to make sure it matches. But I want those two to match for sure, and that was -23. $22, $24, $22, $24. That'll bother me if I didn't have them exactly the same. Okay, so I'm going to save that and start with my ground. I'm going to duplicate just because it couldn't hurt. So if I decide to go the painterly route and make everything kind of a brush stroke, then I'm going to want to take out some of the daffodils. But I like them because of the wish factor. And that's going to be part of the storytelling. It'll be part of the storytelling that doesn't really seem like, it seems pretty mundane. It doesn't seem like it would be part of the story until you know the story. And I love for whoever I'm building an image for them to have little secrets that they can share with people that aren't, you know, wildly obvious. And that's kind of one of them. So I want to keep a few of the daffodils in. And some of these leaves that are laying around there, and some of these without a head on it or a top on it or whatever that is. I'm not a flower person, in case you can't tell. So I want to start the brush strokes. The stroke will be from bottom up, but the strokes will start at the horizon line because the closer they are to you, they'll be in front of the one behind it. Does that make sense? Barely, just barely. I know one thing that I need to do here is go into her feet, and we're gonna erase back. Oh, that's so tiny. We're gonna erase back some at the bottom of her foot, and then we can drop a shadow in there. Whoops, I'm in the wrong spot. So definitely don't erase other places. There we go. Okay, so right now I just see like a little trim that needs to happen. And sometimes you'll get stuff behind them. Like that is actually just so I'm just going in the shape of, and this foot, oops, that's a little much. A little ham there. There we go. Okay, I want this actually to be at 100% because we want the weight of her foot to be evidenced in the grass. And I'm going to start with, sometimes if the subject is going to be a little bit bigger, like if you've seen any of my stuff, I posted one on Instagram just the other day that was one that earned a merit last year, and it was a composite shot, but it was actually entered in Photographic Open because I had done a fair amount of work to it, but not enough to like warrant that kind of, see, that just didn't make, I got a little carried away. So I can go in when it's all flattened, and I can do real subtle highlights and shadows, and it will make that weight, that'll make her foot kind of sink in. So right now it's just a real basic, hardly even enough to see. And I can go behind because her foot is on a different layer. Then I can go behind just a little bit. The directional light is coming from camera right, so I can make it heavy camera left. Now you can see I do have highlights camera left, so I have to be kind of careful. There we go. All right, I'm gonna duplicate that and then merge it because we erased back from that. So I don't want there to be any holes in any of the layers. Okay. So the flowers are still on a different, the forget-me-nots are on a different layer. So I can go in and kind of hand paint. I'm especially going to hand paint that back because that's real jaggedy right now and not what we want. But because the horizon line is clearly farther away, it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, so I do want just, this is going to feel like it's taking forever, but I just want to drag these pixels up so that it's got a texture that makes sense. So it's off in the horizon, it is out of focus, it's out of our depth of field for whatever you're picturing here. If you're picturing a camera, if you're picturing your own eyesight, you're not focusing on her, the girl kind of close to you, and the horizon line at the same time. So visually, we need to replicate our own eyesight capabilities for it to make sense, especially in a composite. That's important because what you want out of a composite that you're kind of creating from nothing is believability. And anything that hints that it's not believable will just trick your brain. And sometimes you can't even name it. When I was working on the conversations with our ancestors, which was a major composite that really consisted of portraits that had been taken 100 years ago and portraits I had taken in my studio for that purpose, and blending them to look like they all went together. And I'm going to see this in my sleep tonight, this like really subtle smudge. And it's such a minute change that like when we go to the end of this and kind of click back and forth, you're like, was that even worth all that time? And I think so. These are the little details that make it work. I entered that same image, Conversations with Our Ancestors, the year before, and I had put extensive work into it. And I thought just the idea, I'd never seen anybody do anything like that before. So I thought just the idea might be enough that, there's a weird little, let's see if that's on the balloon side or, okay, that's on the balloon side. So we can just erase that. But anyway, on the one that I had done, I thought just the idea would be enough to kind of help me get through there and earn a merit. And while I guess maybe it might have, they didn't give me one. A different panel might have, you know, if I just resubmitted it, it might have squeaked through with a merit. But what they did was give me the opportunity to improve it. And I was encouraged tremendously by some other colleagues that was worth more time, more effort, even though I had already at that point put more time and effort into that composite than I had any other single picture in my life. Because a lot of times my exhibition work, I'll spend a tremendous amount of time on that. But this one, I've done entire exhibitions in less hours than I have in that one image, and it's worth it. And that's not to say that some of the others like aren't as strong, but it's just they came together a lot faster. Like that's just how it is sometimes. So I'm going along the whole horizon line, just giving it a smudge in the right direction to give it that texture of grass, to kind of take away the AstroTurf Teletubby field that it had. That's not helping. And as I get bigger, so right now I'm working on the horizon. So this is the furthest away that the grass will be from the viewer. And it was already smudged a little bit, so that made my life easier. It's just a little more uniform. And then as I get closer, the strokes have to get bigger because they're closer. So it makes more sense visually for them to be I should have brought a coffee in here, but I didn't. So now I just have to think about it. Okay. I'm going all the way across. This is when I would be mindlessly singing. I need people on here to entertain me and keep myself busy as my wrist starts to hurt from all this little detail work. But this is the stuff. This is really fun. And I say that on the fun part, but we got the tedious work out of the way. And I think that's why it's hard to just get going on this stuff, because you know that at the beginning it's not fun. It's searching for the right images and, you know, extracting pieces. Now, the new update to Photoshop for selecting the subject, I don't know how new it. I don't know how long it's been on there. I just upgraded after like 10 or 12 years to Creative Cloud. And that select subject or whatever it is a huge time saver. But you still, especially in this wall art, exhibition work, competition work, you have to be more precise than any kind of automation is going to be. I'm trying very hard not to furrow my brow. And I failed at that the other day. I'm watching that video back. I'm going to look surprised now. And that little bit, here, we'll just back up and give my hand just a quick second to rest, because then we can back up and I can show you. You can't really tell a difference at all. But here you get in a little, just a tiny bit closer. And there's a difference along there versus over here. It's subtle. I'm not going to pretend it's like tremendous. But it's one of those things where like here you can see stark pixel lines. You can see the, I wonder if a bigger, is that, I think I'm just being lazy. I'm going to go back to the little guy. It does the job, but see, even the difference between a bigger brush and these brushes, it really makes, I think it was 16. That's still a small brush, so it's not going to be visible to when it's viewed at this size. Now, we get this puppy printed on a nice, beautiful acrylic canvas or framed print or oil digital painting hybrid, and it's going to be a big difference. And my personal favorites are the framed acrylic canvases. The process is incredible, and it's a family-owned business. They've been around for 80 years, and they have insane warranties on their work. And they print, they do a high-quality print, and then they strip the canvas, or they strip the print and put it on the canvas and then hand acrylic. And it is absolutely stunning. They have beautiful frames. And when I'm creating a piece like this, I'm not creating it for it to sit on a thumb drive. I know everybody wants the digital file, and I completely respect that. But respect the image enough to have it on your wall, to have it something that you're looking at. And you come to my house and I'll show you, I put my money where my mouth is. And the images that I love are printed and framed on my wall. It might take me a minute to get it done because I'm out there printing everybody's stuff. But I promise you, they're there. All right, so that first row, it's subtle, but it works. And once you're looking at it and you see that difference, it's big. All right, so now we got to go back in there. I know. And this is not, there's not a ton of detail. So is this going to make that much difference? I don't know, but I can't skip ahead that far. First, I'm going to save. So as I get closer, not only is my stroke going to get bigger, but I am going to lower the strength of the tool as we get closer, and as our eye would be more in focus and our subject is in focus, so she is within the focal plane, and we want visually that to make sense. And that delightful clicking noise is coming with us. Is it really loud? Every time I get a new follower, I jump completely out of my skin. This is going faster. I didn't even tell right there because this had been... Now I want to go around the daffodils. And I'm going to find the balloon layer and erase that because we don't need extra strings. And that might be something that I don't notice because it's so thin that I don't notice when I'm going through. Whoops. There we go. So bottom to upward, just trucking through here to give it some nice light and shadows. And there is another. We'll scrolling up here. I'm not sure what happened. Those got separated somehow from their balloons for that layer, but where am I? There we go. Okay, and there's another little sky that kind of got cold in here. And I was going to, I thought it was going to be sunny today, so I was going to grab some clouds in the sky for this image, and then I could kind of manipulate it a little bit easier. And it is snowing again. I didn't know it was supposed to snow, so it's not really accumulating much. So this at the end is just gonna look light and like kind of a texture, a natural texture. That's what we want. We want it to look believable and have some depth, but this whole thing is gonna be dreamy. We want it to be magical. So this is her, the title of the image is 21 Came Before Me, and this is their fertility journey before they had their little girl, who is the star of our show. And she is visually, she has come through a storm, and there may or may not be a rainbow in there because you may have heard of the term rainbow baby. I have one of my own. And we're just doing a lot of little kind of Easter eggs to represent their journey. Okay, and then we keep going. I'm going to keep this same size and strength. Whoops. For the other, maybe the next like 1 or 2 layers. And I burned my finger out way less quickly using a mouse, even though that click, 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 click is maybe annoying, but I need to do it like I need a song. Like, what's a Super Bowl song? Are there Super Bowl songs? You know, the Monday Night Football song, but I actually don't think they even do that anymore. That's an old. I just started watching football, like, so all of my football knowledge came from Jan Brady giving up her teen modeling career. from the Brady Bunch because she got hit in the face with a football, and the movie Ace Ventura. And if anybody watching this is like, I don't know, probably less than like 35, then you've never seen either of those things. How dare you, basically. But that's where all my football knowledge had come from up until 5 or 6 years ago. And my husband talked me into playing fantasy football. So I had to learn the rules because obviously I had to win. So I had to learn the rules and I had to learn about players. And that was a lot of fun. And then we haven't really done that the last couple of years. But I recognized some of the players and I would remember them, not really for what they did or didn't do, but for how they scored whenever I picked them, the good and the bad. So they're all defined by one game. And rarely could I tell you what game it was, who they played, but that wasn't really the point. The point was to eat a lot of dip. We went and got some dip today. I expected the store to have like, because it's Super Bowl Sunday, it's Valentine's Day Eve. So I expected some treats, some cakes and cookies and like decorated stuff for Valentine's Day, maybe like some hoagies and wings for Super Bowl. It's like an everybody wins kind of thing. Well, I was wrong. Nobody wins because they didn't have any of that stuff. So I'm certainly not going to make it. So we just got other stuff. We got chips and dip, and we did find a cake, but it was a carrot cake. Carrot cake's not romantic. Note to you guys. Carrot cake's not romantic. Although it might be for my husband because he loves a good carrot cake. I don't think he cares if I'm romantic either, though. So, all right, we're in it. We're like a quarter of the way done, and I'm out of stuff to talk about. So, keep going here. Stay steady. Hope that it's worthwhile when it's all said and done. I like it up close, and sometimes you work really hard on something and then you get it up close and you're like, oh, that wasn't at all worth the time, but you can't really know until you're done. So we've got some soccer games today. Got the big football. I wish they started the Super Bowl earlier in the day though, especially because it's on a Sunday. I know Cincinnati like is basically shut down for tomorrow because they are ready one way or another. I live outside Indy, about an hour outside Indy, and when the Super Bowl was there, we got a lot of the celebrities, which was kind of cool. It was the last time any celebrities were here, except for if you like college sports, if you like Big Ten stuff, then we get some solid celebrity action. But my studio is next to where all the sports teams play. So I get to meet over the last 10 years, I've gotten to meet most of the players and coaches for basketball, football. Those are the ones that I usually know what's going on because it's such a big deal around here. And they'll ask, where to get certain food or whatever. That's my claim to fame. I've never gotten any pictures with any of them because I'm trying not to bother them, and I don't usually know who they are. I just feel like I know when I should know who they are. Okay, we'll go 2 more layers with this same size because the texture and the shadows are hanging in there beautifully and maintaining that directional pattern. And then the forget-me-nots are on a different layer, so we can go back and kind of hand paint those so they match, and then we can play with them a little bit so that they aren't all so uniform. Okay. The kids are down there singing or something. Now, do they care about the Super Bowl? No, they do not. They care about a theme party, like their mama. So we actually have a Bengals jersey. And one of my sons went through a weird phase. I guess it's not that weird, but he went through a phase a few years ago, and it's an AJ Green jersey, and I don't think he plays for anybody, never mind the Bengals anymore. So that's how we picked. And Grandpa Jim, if you saw viral Grandpa Jim, he sold me on the Bengals, so I'm now a diehard Bengals fan. And if you watched my video on conversations with our ancestors, you'll know that my family has all died off relatively young, so I've adopted Grandpa Jim as my own. I think we all have. It's the cutest. So all in on the Bengals. Sorry to Rams. Although, that's why I didn't use any actual football knowledge or anything logical. I'm not placing a bet. I'm just picking who I will die on that hill for tonight, because once I pick, I'm all in. And it was Grandpa Jim. He sold me. Done deal. Okay, so we're still doing the same thing. I'm going around the daffodil. I think it's a daffodil. The wish flower, whatever it is. And then I can go right over the forget-me-nots because they're on a different layer. So that makes my life easier. But I'm going to go under those, paint them a little, give them some shadows. And I've got to go in order here so that if there is grass that gives the appearance to be closer to us, it's going to appear on this side. So it's going to get the highlights, and that's what we want. And I'm kind of getting to where it's all blurring together. Nobody knows what's happening. And I can feel my eyebrows furrowing. Not a good look. Okay, now I gotta be careful since I got ahead of myself and I jumped the gun on my little shadow. But that's actually good because then I can do real subtle and then bring these highlights up over. Yay! See, I love that stuff. And then when we get this texture on her legs, it's gonna go together so beautifully. I can't even tell. Did I already do that Well, it looks like I did, but maybe I'm going crooked. See, now just wacky, out of sync. But I don't want to cut corners. That was one of the things when Conversations with Our Ancestors bombed the first time I put it in. I could see stuff that I had kind of taken a shortcut with. Just like this. Like, you think to yourself, because, well, it's not that important of an element, but then you've got a few unimportant elements that don't visually have the level of attention that your main elements do, and it adds up to not being a merit. Okay. So we'll go round and round and around. And I like that it's kind of messy, because nature is generally kind of messy. So I want it to have that natural, organic, even though there's probably a clone mark or two in there. But that's what's nice about the smudge tool. It's going to treat every pixel a little differently than the one before, because it's more of an organic based on the click of my mouse or the swipe of my stylus, and makes it a little different. All right, so let's back up and look at it. Oh my gosh, that's hard to even tell, and we've got a long way to go. That being, see, the whole thing just kind of shifts up. So where are we at now? We'll go a little bit bigger and then a little less strong. So that's perfect. I need like a beat. Just gonna go 3 rows. Because you can kind of see right here is a hard line where you're seeing the whole blade of grass. It's not obstructed at all. So we'll just take these big chunks and move to the right, and kind of in different patterns, different stroke depth, that kind of thing. And it looks like I might have gone crooked. And I'm trying to mix up my stroke a little too, so it's not all leaning the same way. It's not keep trucking. Everybody's out eating too much dip. What's more important, the Super Bowl or the Olympics? I'll tell you this much. I'm not watching the Olympics this year, not for any like important reason or anything. I just haven't watched them. I actually didn't realize they were coming up. So I'm not a big winter Olympic sport. When I was little, I was super into the Summer Olympics, gymnastics. Kim Zemeskal, somebody else that did, Shannon Miller, she was one of those. from that same era. But that's it. That's it as far as Olympic goes. I'm a soccer player my whole life, and I didn't really watch that even. It used to be a big deal to watch the opening ceremonies. That was a big deal. I got to hold them. I got to hold the entirety of the opening ceremonies. No, I got to hold the Olympic torch. You know, they like ran it across the country or whatever. And when we were visiting the Alamo for family vacation, the Olympic torch was there. And so that's my Olympic story. Pretty exciting. It's as exciting as hand smudging these flowers. I'll be careful around here because I don't want a halo. I don't want to follow the stroke of the flower, but I don't want to interfere because I'm going to go back through and give the flowers a little zhuzh that they deserve, but not yet, because those might be a little more crisp, a little bit, just a little bit, because I want them to make sense. I want them to all go together. Thank goodness these flowers are on a different layer, because they would be tiny and painful to go around. This is hurting my hand less using the mouse. Whoops, I just decimated that daffodil, and there's no going back. We're in too deep. She's gone. It's like I'm gonna hear that noise in my sleep. Gotta go across there, make sure there are no patterns forming. And we're getting to that place where they're gonna be a little more in focus. They're gonna have more defining characteristics. This line right here. However, I want them to match. So, all right. So I told my husband this morning, you know, I don't have my master artist case ready to go, and I should have had it so that I could enter in the ASP competition, because once an image merits or is in imaging excellence for PPA, then it cannot be entered into the ASP competition. So the stuff that I don't have ready right now, if it goes on to merit or get any accolades really in district or IPC, then I can't enter it. And so it'll never get entered if I don't do it now. So what I'm planning to do, and you guys hold me to this, is first of all, I'm going to get a bigger brush with a lower opacity. Not that low, not that low. There we go. I'm going to continue beyond my case being filled this year and do 2 more master artists at least, because I have all these ideas that are just brewing. And what I can do then is put them in Portrait Masters in July or September, whenever their second competition is for the year, and see how they do there. And the metrics for Portrait Masters and PPA, they don't have the elements of a mirror image the way they do for PPA, but they score very similarly. Actually, the scores for Portrait Master are lower, but it's a good way to gauge how an image will do overall in comparison with the other images. I'll often enter Portrait Masters to narrow my photographic open case down from, like, if I have 6 that I feel like have a story that have a possibility, then I'll throw all 6 in Portrait Masters. And then whatever does the best, I will use and then cut the others. So it's just a nice way, professional way to get some eyes on your work before going into full-on competition. So if I work through, and instead of just doing the 4 images for my case, and I do 6, then I've got a year almost to work on those and to be inspired by them and walk away, and really walk away, so that I forget what they look like, and then come back to them and be honest with myself about what needs to change. And I have to drag down the front a little bit because I don't want to lose the edge of my image. So we've got to drive it up because that's the natural direction that it's going. Okay. I like this so far because it's still got some defined blades of grass, it's got highlights, it's got shadows, but it's all been treated in the same manner. It's all complementary to one another. Oh, but see, I just want a little ham because I'm getting tired, getting sick of this. You're probably sick of that click, 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 click. We need some music. I would be listening to, if I were just not streaming, and if I were just working on this, I would be listening to Radical Face or Canyon City or Little Chief or Donovan Woods, real mellow kind of stuff. All right, I'm going to duplicate the forget-me-nots and get a small brush and go a little more intense. And this will just allow them to have their own they almost look painterly as it is. So what I want to do here is make sure that, like, they're all a little different, that they all have their own unique qualities, and you don't see any duplication or anything like that. So that's going to take the name of the top layer. So I just have to be careful not to, oh, there's some, whoops. I just have to be careful not to erase everything, step 1. And just give them all their own personality. These ones further back, they can be a little more freely smudged. same back here. And we just want kind of the implied look, because the reason people know what they are because of her and the reason it's not bringing the green in because the green is a separate layer. So you can just kind of paint around these. Make it beautiful. And then make a match. So after this, we'll go into the grass and give it a little shadow. And there are the, so even though we didn't touch the daffodils over there, they blend because they were a little out of focus. They were, the pixels around them were moved around. So they've got like a dreamy, soft feeling that we want. So I think all the forget-me-nots were behind her. So they're still pretty crisp. If you went in there and count them, there would be 21. And the wishes are kind of an implied count. So let's make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Perfect. So I'm going to duplicate this layer and hide, well, I'm going to darken it and lower that contrast, and then erase back the ones closest to her. So it just kind of adds to the subtle differences so that they're not all the same, even though we were using the same image. All right, I'm going to duplicate that and hide it and then save. All right, so let's go ahead and work on her. I'm going to duplicate and just going to smooth out her dress, clean up the color, and maybe make the color pop a little bit more. Her skin is looking a little gray to me. So I'm just going to add in some pink undertones and just a touch. That's much better. And then I'm going to grab one of the other pictures eventually and work on the whites of her eyes are so vibrant. I'm going to bring the pupils over just a little bit. So before we do that, I may consider, I know that we had some images that had her, you know, I think I kind of remember closing one out that had her. Thank you, new follower, yay! Welcome. And I had my volume turned down so I didn't jump really, really badly. So I'm going to look for her hair behind with the bow scooched up so you can see hair behind her head, if that makes any sense. So it's not going to be these. So it's going to be like a little movie. Oh, that last one had some. All right, that's a possibility. 2918. Let's see what else we've got. That's a little more subtle, but I don't do subtle. All in. So I've got to watch, make sure I don't alter the shape of her head. Well, that one was close. And I could just move it up digitally. There we go. That's what we want. Which one do we want? This one. 29. Let's do 2918. $29.18. There we go. All right, so we just need this part. And we're going to warp it. I'm going to keep the proportions. And actually, I'll probably keep her hairline. I just really want the bow a little more visible. So I'm going to make sure and treat this the same way that I treated every other bit of this. So I'm going to sharpen it and then reduce the noise. And I haven't touched these tools since then, so that'll be the same measure that I did before. And I can't remember if I played with, that's a lot of yellow. Here we go. I can't remember if I changed the brightness and contrast. It's a weird little zigzag in there. All right, so it looks perfect like that. I'm going to keep some of that highlight because I like that. And I'm going to erase back most of this. So I'm going to make sure that there. You know what? We will just kind of keep the hair that was already there, and we'll just have to get rid of the bow that's below her. So, yeah, I like that. So before I delete that bow behind her, actually, let's do this. Let's go really small here. That's good. And just kind of erase back. And you can see just by the amount of pixels on the screen how small this is going to be on the frame. But that's okay. I'm not concerned with being so small that the details don't matter, because for me the details always matter. And the plan is to have this printed rather large, so I don't want it to be something that shows up after I have printed a very expensive piece of wall art and realize that I made a mistake, or something that they'll look at. Once you notice it, then you see it for the rest of your life. So I'm going to get rid of the, yeah, that's good, but I'm going to warp that highlight on her head because I like it. It needed some body right there. Let's go a little bit bigger. We'll go from 4 to like 8. Is that too big? Yep. Just get rid of what's going on under here. And then 50%, because the bow, if we're going right onto skin, that's going to have a little bit of a shadow. Okay. So we'll duplicate that one, and then this one that's left, we are going to get rid of the bow. That's too big. That's too big. We will go back to the size brush that I had just a minute ago. Okay. Where is, okay, that's from the bow. And then, oh, first of all, let's get rid of this, because these little sharp edges can just kind of show up and ruin your party real quick. And then I'm going to grab some hair here. Oh no, why did that move? Don't move. I need it to be right where it was. Close enough. And then warp it so that it matches up with her hairline. There we go. All right. Merge those. And merge those. Whoops, what did I just merge then? Okay, I don't know. So I'll probably find out one of these days. So we'll take this down to like a 2 or 3 pixel and just go around that edge. You can see kind of the dark. Where is my, you know, you have a small brush when like you can't even find it on the screen. Oops, see, I didn't pick it up, so I'm trying to look pleasant while I edit. Okay, and then I should have done this before, but I'm going to burn this down a little. All right, so this is the tiniest detail, but my mom always said that I couldn't let things go as a kid until I had the eyes right, and I just want to get a little color out of her eye. 2878. Okay, and then we're just going to grab that color real quick. Let's see here. Okay, so this is like the most ridiculous detail that'll never ever ever show up, but I can't help myself. Did I already? I might have already done this actually. I might just take, yeah, I did already do it. So I think what I want to do here, I'm gonna name that girl again because she keeps getting, I'm gonna take these really bright whites. Oops. And darken them just a little bit because they're so stark. There we go. And I'm going to, and that's going to take my girl title away again. There we go. Okay. So let's see here. All right, we're going to go in with our shadows again and just we go. And then these wouldn't even really, there are enough like lights and shadows around. These wouldn't even really be factoring into the grass with all those different blades causing. Did I get those? Don't look painted. So I'm going to go with the bigger brush because they're further back. They're going to be less crisp than anything up close, and those were coming off as way more crisp. So we'll go back to this now. Oh, I'm doing the wrong tool. I was like, why isn't that working? And there's another, oh, because, yeah. That's how you know it's been a long day. And then let's get back to those forget-me-nots and just give them a smudge. Just a noticeable, like, treatment. Because they are not wildly important to the story, but they're one of those little things that once you see them, you go, oh, I get it. And the blue is going to complement the blue sky. And the blue and the balloons, and that's all going to tie into bringing the viewer to them. And if you know even a little about plants, if I know these are forget-me-nots, the whole world should know these are forget-me-nots because I don't know how to keep a plant alive. I don't, my mom used to say, you just have to water them. That's more than I'm willing or capable of, Mom. Sorry. I can't stop myself. They're beautiful, but I prefer cut plants that I'm allowed to throw away in a few days. Okay. All right, so we're getting to the exciting part, the nerve-wracking exciting part, where we start to make really permanent changes. Before we do that, I started to work on her dress and then I got distracted by her bow and never did her dress. So that's where we'll head now. Forget-me-nots, there she is. I'm going to duplicate her again because you just never know. And I'm going to save this as progress number 5. We are trucking. Okay. So I just said progress number 5, like, do you remember the song Mambo number 5? It came on one of my Peloton rides not that long ago, maybe last week or something. And I bet it's been 20 years, but I remembered all the words. So I can't remember the names of people that I know. Oh, there's a lot of color bleed in here. So we'll have to go in here and kind of color block paint. Okay. 15, I'm at a good size. Okay, and I don't have 2 copies open because if I have 2 copies open, it's going to give a misleading appearance. I don't want 2 copies because I want to be able to adjust the whole thing at the same time. And this is going to be tricky because here we've got like a little yellow color cast. We've got the purpley blue bleed from the flowers. And there's some graying of the skin. So this is definitely something we're gonna have to handle. But the good news is that I see it. The bad news about that is that if I see it, being colorblind, then everybody else is like, ew, fix that. But I see it, therefore I can fix it. And I do want to find something for her hair on the far shoulder. I thought I'd have all kinds of time today. Gotta get that dip party started. I love a good dip. There is a sriracha, so my family and I are vegan, and there is a sriracha dip that is like ridiculous. Whoops. All right, so this dress you can kind of tell didn't have a lot of natural movement. It was kind of heavy. So we just want to give the illusion of a light breeze kind of tucking it back behind her. And I might warp or liquefy or something, but right now I really like that finish of it. I like the nice crisp shadows and the highlights. And I like the light. That's like one of my favorite things when you have a dress like that that's billowing a little bit and the light comes through the back side of it. I had an image in competition titled Sweet Hour of Prayer a couple years ago, and it was the simplest image. You know, I've said on this channel a lot, I don't do simple very well. And this one was one that like, could have almost changed me. It could have almost made me a simple photographer because I wanted to go in. So the song, the hymn, Sweet Hour of Prayer, is very special to my family. And I wanted to honor that with an image. And I took I think she was 3 at the time. It was a few years ago. And I took her into the studio and I pictured her in this old-timey nightgown with like praying hands, like dramatic lighting, like, you know, like you picture prayer as like a solemn, somber thing. And then she wanted to dance. So she danced. And, you know, I just kept shooting photographs as I do. And as she was dancing along there, it occurred to me that that made a lot more sense for that song, was dancing joyfully than it was to be melancholy or sad or anything like that. So that was a turning point in my competition work, to be more open to steering off of my planned path. And that really worked. I have gone off my path sometimes and it not work. And then I end up not even using. So that could go either way, but it worked out that time. Now I have Mambo number 5 stuck in my head, which is unfortunate. It's not a good song. It's in there though. It's gonna be a while. And if you're too young to know that song, congratulations. Because not that long ago, we were at the mercy of whatever was on the radio. Not anymore. There's a lot of patchwork in this dress. Like, you were there for it. Oh, I love that play on light there. I'm gonna bring that shadow down a little bit so it's bolstering. So all these gradients, all these ripples in the dresses and the fabrics should make sense. The light on the light side, the dark on the dark side. And sometimes when you're compositing, it's easy to forget that, whoa, what is going on? I grabbed the wrong thing. Well, okay, we'll just give it a minute. It's the ghosts. All right, so all this, I think maybe I'll take this out. This is like a little white detail on the front of her dress, but I think I'm just gonna take it out because this whole thing's gonna have to be touched color-wise because we've got a color cast from her skin. We've got color bleed from the flowers. So, and I know I'm gonna need to do something about the hair. So let's see if we can find one of the pictures with her hair that's just kind of, I don't know what we want. What do we want over there? So we'll go through kind of the same. If the flowers were down, that would have been just about perfect. Maybe one of those, because they're nice and that one's a little much. Let's go back to a couple of these. Maybe 29, 22. Help me remember that. That might be it, 29, 22. Oh, wait. 29, 22, and 69. So there's 22, and there's 69. All right, so I don't want to, we don't need our eyeball anymore. All right. I think I might just grab this one and I can kind of tuck it into what's already there. So, oh, I need that song out of my head is what I need. It's not a good, it's not good. All right, so we'll get that. Perfect. Okay. Seamless. Just kidding. It will be though. All right. I'm going to sharpen. I haven't touched it, so that's all the same. I'm going to reduce noise. I haven't touched it, so that's all the same. And then I'm going to play with the color. And it's going to be real dramatic. And all I'm looking right now is the hair. I'm not at all concerned with the shirt or anything like that because I'm going to mostly take that out. Oh, you got your lens. Nice. Have you gotten to use it yet? I love I love a new lens, but I've been using the same lens for like 12 years. I'm a creature of habit. All right, and I want to keep this little curl and shadow. I definitely want to keep that. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. One of my favorite tools. trusty warp tool. We'll bump that whole thing, and then this is gonna kind of go, I want to make sure that I'm not impeding her face at all. And lower that, because that's mostly going to be deleted. Oh yeah, I guess that makes sense. Not a lot of camera shops left that you can go walk into. We had one like an hour away that was here right up until the pandemic hit, and it's gone now too, I think. But I can't say anything because I didn't go in there, so. Okay, I'm gonna warp one more time. I need that song out of my head. Mambo number 5. Where's my warp? There we go. So I'm gonna bring this down without bringing down anything else, because I want to keep the curl. I definitely want to keep that. And then we'll erase back everything else. Oops, I'm going to go a little closer because okay, I might end up having to keep some of this, so then I'll have to go back in and fix the color to match. There's just like a touch more yellow. What was I doing over here? Let's see. And I want to go back to 100% and get that off of her cheek, because I don't want to change the shape of her face. I don't want to lose the light on her face, anything like that. Oh, I love the little shadows from her hair. It gives it a nice depth. Oh, that's not even cool. All right, so that's not much that I have to do there as far as erasing back. I will take that in, and I'll take just a touch of yellow out. And then add a little red. And since that's the light side of her dress, it's probably good. What I will do is merge those, and then we'll back out of here and show you the difference that that made. And I'm going to zoom in there and make sure that it's a positive difference. There we go. Okay, so what I need to do now is smudge the new section, because it was not, and you can tell. I went to imaging this year thinking that I would maybe come home with a new lens or a new camera body, but most of the big companies kind of bailed out at the last minute from coming, so there weren't a lot of products. Okay, before I go any further, I'm gonna save this, and then we're gonna take a big step and flatten it. And I was getting nervous, even though I'm saving it. What's going on up here? Okay, even though I'm saving a copy, It stresses me out. All right, so I saved that. So now, I don't want that one. I don't want that one. Okay, so I don't even know what I was going to do with that. All right, so we'll delete these. We're going to do some layer cleanup here. These are all off. These are all hidden. So I think we will put the balloons. We'll keep those separate. That's her. And then I didn't even duplicate that, which is unusual. All right. Oops. Delete those. And now I'm going to save it as progress 6. And since there's not a song called Mambo number 6, I won't get it stuck in my head. Whoops. Okay. Now that we're at this point, I'm going to duplicate again. I can't help myself. And I'm going to go really dark. I want a good bit of contrast. And then, oh, that's why I had those clouds in there, because I need a little sunburst. So let's do this first. And I want it to be a little more subtle. All right. Do we have a sunburst? No. The answer is no. It's in there somewhere. I just didn't, I guess I didn't. Oh, let's see. Is this one? This was for a different composite. No, ugh. Not that one. Let's see here. This was a sun. Oh, those power lines are killing me. These are obviously cell phone pictures, and I don't see. Let's go back to my sky options that I keep. I have like 13 sky options just hanging out in my files, and I really should have millions, and I don't ever remember to pull them in there when I need them or when I take them, but I only look for them when I need them, and then I don't have time to. Not that one, not those. I need big fluffy clouds. I can't tell you how many times I've used that in composite. But it's not directional. I want directional light. No, that's not gonna work. And the next time I open that, I'm gonna be like, why is this upside down? Okay, so we'll just fake it. We're working in Photoshop, so that's what it's here for. All right, which one of these did we use? It must have been the other. So we can use this to be our sunburst. I keep changing my mind. All right, so we'll create our own little sunburst. Let's start over. And then, let's see. We'll switch this to black and white. We've got a new layer here. And I haven't done this in a really long time. Let's do, I think it's a gradient. This was an old trick from long ago. It's like Pioneer Village stuff. That's all different. Oh, it was render. That's what it is. Okay, and then it was radial blur, and I want zoom at like 100%. So we're gonna do raise, and then so obviously not that strong. So what I'm gonna do is erase it off of there. It wouldn't show up behind her. We just want really, really subtle. And I don't even know if I want that at all. So we'll hang on to it for a little bit. We'll save it as an option. And keep going. And is that right over her face? It looks like it. So I definitely don't want that. All right. So I'm going to hide that for now because we'll probably end up getting rid of it. But I'm just kind of messing with everything as I tend to do. All right. Duplicate. Let's try this again. There's a happy medium here somewhere. And I still think we're probably looking for, all right, here's what I'm gonna do now. This is my favorite part. Duplicate, hide one, and I'm gonna go in there and highlight her face. Even though it's small, the plan is to print this big. So all that aside, the most, competition, all that stuff aside, the important part here is the piece of artwork that my client is going to have on their wall, and make it as perfect as humanly possible. And I've got some little hair strays hanging out. I can feel my furrowed brow making me look angry. Okay. I think I'm gonna liquefy that hair a little bit, and is everybody watching the Super Bowl tonight? Is anybody watching it? Does anybody care? I am using it as a reason to eat dip. I'll take any reason to be competitive though too. I'm just gonna smush. Maybe go a little bigger. Who are you cheering for? Because I decided based on the grandpa that went, where did my liquify go? The grandpa that went viral. Grandpa Joe. Yes, everybody is. I haven't found anybody that's cheering for the Rams. There we go. Okay, that's definitely changed. All right, so we're going to copy this again, or duplicate it, because I made some changes. Oh, we're neighbors. So you're probably, you have to be, you're contractually obligated to be all in on the Bengals. I'm just going to make sure that the side of her face is nice and bright. The side that is over here, and just drag this highlight down a little bit so that it's not grabbing all the attention. Before we go any further, I'm going to burn because I don't want to lose her features between the smudging and the highlighting. Ooh, let's go 3. It's subtle, it's tiny, but she's got a cute little button nose here that I want to preserve, and that will be seen even and she's got little eyelashes that are gorgeous and showing up, and I want to make sure they're not lost. I'm going to have Mambo number 5 stuck in my head for the rest of my life. And I'm sorry if you do too. Please forgive me. I'm going to go back because that was pretty stark right off. Okay, now I'm going to get a little bigger. And my exposure is really low, so I can kind of go ham on this. But as always, I want to make sure that I'm not losing the color. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to dodging, and we'll go teeny again. Go 5 and get like little button nose highlights, and then the lip highlights. And then we need to go a little bigger for these, just a little swipe over the cheek. There we go. Okay, now is the part that is a little bit, so just to kind of see where we came from. That's where we're at. That's where we were. Just like stage makeup is, you know, more dramatic and easier to be seen from further away. That's what we're working with here too. I forgot to do her hair, so I'm going to do that too. I really want to burn that body in there. And I love the little baby hairs. Look at that sweet face. All right. Okay, so now we've got to address the flowers. And that mess of a string. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate. I did a lot of changes there. And we're going to be at progress 7. Okay, so she's maintained her color across her face pretty well. I wonder, and she has very dark eyes, but I might just run a little stripe of brightness in the color just to give it some body, some texture. And it'll be, I mean, almost impossible to see it, but okay. And I don't think I ever painted that brush or that hair bow. So we'll mix it up. We're going with 4 now. Oops. Oh, I hate it when it does that. Ugh. Just a little difference. All right, so I want to keep the lights and shadows so that it keeps its shape, but make sure that it flows with the rest of the stuff that has been kind of painted, that has been kind of smudged. And I'll erase that back too. That is probably going to need to be painted because that looks pretty blown out. All right, so and then my opacity is going to be low because I just want to not have it be completely colorless. Whoops. That'll do it. And since this is going to be larger wall art, these details are even more important. And I love the idea that people in 50 years are going to be looking at this, 100 years. All right, save that. And I'm not sure, I don't think clearly did not do her legs yet. Why is that so small? Okay, we don't need it quite that small. All right, and I'll just go right in the same movement as her body so that we maintain the gradient, just as if I were painting with oils or acrylics. I want to keep the light and the shadow. I'm going to keep that little highlight on the ankle bone. I'm not too worried about the crease in her foot or anything like that, but that little highlight, and I'll go back in and get the toe too. And that color shift as well. So this is another area that I'll go along the skirt because I don't want to drag any of that pink. I try to do longer strokes here because of that. Anything that's going to be distracting. This isn't an area of the image that we want people to linger in. So we'll make sure that it has the same treatment as all the other area. And there's a nice little highlight on her ankle as well. We want to maintain the color shift, the gradient that's natural in our skin. Okay. Hi. All right, now we need to burn. And I'm gonna just go right along her skirt where the shadow would be heaviest. And then right along where one leg would be casting a shadow on the other. And then I'm gonna go down here to the toes and stuff while I have a smaller. Anywhere that you're burning is gonna lose color. So you wanna make sure that you're in the deepest shadows of the image, unless you're ready to go back in and kind of recolorize it. I am still working on that same composite that I was working on yesterday. This is a client image. The title is 21 Came Before Me. And we are getting to the fun part. We're getting the party started. Here, I'll give you a peek at it as a whole. Now, we've got a long way to go still, but you can kind of start to see where we're headed. Okay, so I definitely, while I'm thinking about it, thank you for having me back up, because I want to add some movement into her skirt. So I'm going to liquefy, and you can see that it's kind of a heavier fabric. So I'll get a little bit larger brush and just kind of, oh, do I even like that better? No, I don't. I like that better. Okay, scratch that. I think I might have just made it. Okay, that'll do. I'll take that one. All right, so we're back to working on her dress. We need to work on the situation around the flowers. So this will be another one that's kind of like, it's not that exciting really, but it's really important too, because you can see where the color has kind of shifted into the dress, and you can't have that. No good. This image is a client image. So this is their story, and I get to tell it, and I'm thrilled, absolutely thrilled. So I'm just gonna pick, I might go a little heavier than that, like around 30, and go in line with where that color is, so that we can get rid of this kind of blue leak that's happening. So I'm gonna keep the lightest colors, camera left, and, or no, camera right, sorry. And then the deeper shadows, camera right. And actually here, I'm gonna grab the clone. That's gonna show up, so we'll have to go little. So this client has graciously allowed me to enter this in my competitions as well, because I just really love their story, and I knew that it was going to be a level of work that would fit into the master artist category. So it's also for that, but of course, primarily, what happened to her sleeve? Did I just completely, no, I guess it wasn't there. But you can see before and after that I'm getting rid of that blue glow around the flowers. These flowers might end up being a regret. That's okay. They're there for a reason. They are forget-me-nots. Oh, okay, got you. Okay, it's not a senior portrait. This is, so they want to tell the story of their infertility. So it took 21 tries for them to get their little girl. I'm looking over at the screen that I'm reading, but I know you're right there. So these are 21 balloons and 21 forget-me-nots, and then she's carrying a little bouquet. That, yeah, it's a cool story. I'm really honored to be able to tell it for them. And now that I put all the balloons together, I am kind of wishing. Okay, I'm going to duplicate. I know I do that all the time. I'm kind of wishing that I had kept them a little bit separate, because wonder if these are going to look a little better darker. It's kind of hard to tell. We'll go with yes. We'll just pretend it's yes until we know the answer for sure. Okay, so we've got the forget-me-nots down there, and I left some of the daffodils. And I'm not going to play with the color on the daffodils until we flatten the whole image and play with the light and color. What I do need, that I can't find right now, I'm sure I have one in there somewhere, is a burst of sunlight. And I'm not going to get that today because it's snowing. So I'm going to have to dig that out, because that's going to be a really important key when you have a strong light source like we do on her. Then we need to have a reason for it. Okay, so we're going to go in here and use a little bitty teeny tiny brush. And kind of like when we worked on the, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Like the filters, like in here, like the Photoshop filters, whoops. Because I don't use those a lot. I'm going to just go right around the edges. Okay, and then play with the color, not play with, but correct the color on her arm. Oh, okay, yes. So I was talking about this earlier. I used the same version of Photoshop. I started when it was just Photoshop. It didn't even have a number. And I had the version from like probably 12 years ago on my computer, and I'm such a creature of habit. I did not want to upgrade, and finally that one basically died. So I had to upgrade to the newest version, and I just want to use the same. Oh, that's interesting. Color match. It would be interesting to do one by hand and then compare it to what the automation does. Be like John Henry, like man versus machine. And then I'll lose. I'll look into that. I'm like a total old man. I don't want to change my ways. And then once I finally do it, I'm like, oh, okay. Should have done that a long time ago. I'd still have a flip phone if my husband didn't make me stay up on technology. Yes, it doesn't have to be a battle, but it can be. I like a good competition. Which is the only reason I'm watching the Super Bowl tonight. I love a good competition. Me and Grandpa, I can't remember his name, Grandpa Joe or Grandpa Jim, started with J. But we're on the same team tonight. Okay. I'm already liking this better just by blurring out the edges a little and making it kind of a whimsical, romantic feel. That green leaf, we might have to get rid of that green leaf. Well, that's interesting. I wish I would have known about that maybe before my conversations with their ancestors, because I had all kinds of crazy, I had photocopies of photos from 100 years ago, and some were hand colored that I had to decolorize to be able to recolorize them and match them all together. Okay, that's interesting. My kids just showed me a YouTube video where the guy was talking about how man built a computer that was better at chess and no man could beat it. I don't know. Makes you think. It's probably not intended to make you think, but I love a good photo restoration. If you're into photo restorations, check out judging for PPA's competitions. And those are interesting to watch because it's a totally different criteria, I feel like, than, regular. I'm not going to even select this. I'm just going to hand paint this a little bit. Go. We've got this weird blue like leaking in there. And then I'm going to dodge, not with that little bitty one though. Not with that huge one. There's somewhere in between. Oh, that's cool. It's tough. It's tough being the judge. It's like being the ref. Nobody thanks you on the good days. There we go. And I just want to make sure she's got a nice bit of depth. And maybe we might just grab this and recolor it because that arm is looking real gray. Just a little touch of red and some yellow, and then get rid of the extra. So yeah, that's good size. Oh, I hate to hear that. I do really like being on Twitch though. I can see how it would be more enticing than judging. I've judged, when I go to speak, sometimes they'll ask me to judge, and I kind of pride myself on not being somebody who sugarcoats, but then when when it comes down to it, I'm like, I just want to be nice. Everybody wins, even though I don't believe in that at all. So definitely going to be some color shifting, which since I'm coming out of the shadows, that's a little bit okay. I just don't want that gray to factor in. And then I'll merge those together. No, not that. What just happened? I don't want to merge. I want to duplicate. There we go. Oh, that's what I was merging. I forgot. Well, I'm glad I didn't, because now I see something that I want to fix. And I would not have fixed it out of sheer laziness. Oh, and I see a little strip along there I need to handle too. So I'll merge those, and that'll be girl again. And then get in here with a little bitty guy at 100%. There we go. You know, I've heard that same, I don't know, complaint or argument or whatever against the process. The judging, I feel like watching the judging is so much more valuable than the critiques. I don't even order the critiques anymore, because it's generally, when I've gotten critiques, it's like, oh, this is a sellable image. This, I don't know why this didn't. And I'm like, that's not why I ordered this. Thank you, but it doesn't help. But I love to put them in, put my images in smaller competitions, see how they do, get the feedback, and then go on to, and kind of at the end of the season last year, I was like, why did I do that? It was miserable by the end of it. And I was really tired of it all. And then I did really, really well. So guess what I'm doing again this year? Even though I know it'll be miserable for a little bit. It's expensive to enter all those competitions, and you get sick of your images and you get kind of down on yourself. And there will always be some level of inconsistency, because it's, despite the merit, you know, the 12, what is it called? The 12 elements of a merit image. That's as uniform as you can get, and there's still going to be a certain level of human, 12 elements of a merit image. There will always be a certain subjective factor. But because it worked last year, I'm going to make myself miserable again. Well, come on now. No. There we go. There we go. My circle is just going to stay there. Okay. Whatever. Nope. I like that shadow. Oops. There we go. All right. So most of this stuff that I'm working on, not going to even ever be seen. But because I noticed it, I can't. Oh, I'm curious. One competition a year. I'd like to know what it is, because I'll join it. I had never done state competition until last year, because I've seen a lot about the inconsistencies where somebody will score like something crazy at a state competition, and then that same image will Coastal Carolina. Oh, that's interesting. So tell me more about this. Do I want to enter? I did. Last year I did a lot of stuff with the same jurors, thinking that would be more, I don't know, more helpful in in the process for, I keep losing my train of thought, in the main competition being, okay, all right, so here's what I'm gonna do here is go real small, and that's not very small, real small, 5 pixels. Oh, okay. I thought you were Ohio. Oh. A cash prize and a free entry is pretty solid. Goodness, we are working in tiny numbers today. What I got frustrated with in entering those is I would get great feedback, and it was frustrating that I hadn't seen that before, that I didn't see the things that I needed to fix and to know that I could have done better. What just happened? I don't want to dodge. There we go. Oh, congratulations. That's really cool. The less is more is definitely a solid way to go about it. I know the first time I entered Portrait Masters, I don't know if they had even had it before. It might have been a brand new competition, and I just entered. It was actually the first image that I ever got loan with at PPA. So I entered that, and it earned silver. So I was like, oh, nice. I'm like awesome at this. And the next year I entered a whole bunch, and of course they didn't do great. They weren't terrible, but like when I had entered one and gotten silver, I thought, this is where I need to be. And it was luck. Well, it wasn't luck, but it's good to have self-restraint, and I do not always. All right, so I think maybe this is when it's time to go in there with the balloons and make them really exactly what I want. Now, I don't know what I'm going to do with the strings. If I'm going to end up just going in there and drawing in the streams or the strings, because I don't want this but I love that they're on their own separate so I can be kind of sloppy. So I'm curious about your image that took first, and well, it's obviously a different image, but your image that took best of show. What was your subject matter? Because I always kind of hate it when they do just one overall, which is what PPA did this year. Just one overall winner across commercial work and children and boudoir and maternity, and you know, I think that's they're all so different. Oh, a water snake. Oh my gosh, that's terrifying. Was it in the wild or was it like a studio? When I was on a maternity session. I was pregnant with it was either my 5th or 6th child. And I was photographing a pregnant woman, and I was about knee deep. Oh my gosh, that's terrifying. I was about knee deep in a creek, and she was down. I had a long lens. She was down at the other end. And I grabbed a tree to kind of steady myself that was like hanging over the water, and an enormous snake came down from over. And you've never seen 2 pregnant women move faster than that day. It was terrifying. And then the guy, her husband, happened to be the guy from the university who like takes people on hikes and stuff. So he knew his stuff. And when we were on a bridge over looking at them later, he said that they were copperheads. So that was my near-death experience with snakes. I like to look at nature. I don't actually want to interact with it most of the time. So I'm just going through these balloons right now, trying to give them a little body and texture and shape. And I'll go a little bigger and kind of do the same thing, just one little swipe. Since they're separate, I can get away with this kind of thing right now. Because I want them all to look different, even though that's the exact same balloon. But nobody has to know. Ooh, okay. I'm new at this. Can I just click on it? Oh, that is cool. That's solid. Very nice work. I love the textures. Very good. I see how you came away with a best of show. I bet that was moving fast too. Okay. And this is, again, these detail kinds of things, not going to be a huge difference overall, but when you add them all up, then they become important. And I'm glad we went with the colors too. It gives it a little something. Okay. So we went from that to that. Like I said, super duper subtle, but it'll all add up. So what I really need to do, I'm gonna, when it's all flattened, I'm gonna go in and smear quite a bit, and I need light sources from both sides. But the main one, because of her coloring, is going to be camera left or camera right. And what I need is to find that light source in my image library, whatever you want to call it. Because I don't think I'm going to find one in Indiana anytime soon. Oh, it's after 6. All right. Okay, it's going to be Super Bowl time here pretty soon. But, all right, I'm going to back this puppy way up. There are already some kind of natural directional situation happening here. I'm going to go into this and just do a little natural vignette because no matter what, I don't want these. There's like no in between. It's enormous or it's tiny. I don't want these to be, you know what? I think I'll just go ahead and then I can erase that back. I can't read that. Oh yeah, vignette. Okay, so I'm going to, do I want a little. Okay, so I'll erase it back from there and just, I'm gonna do like a real, see, there's no in between. It's tiny, it's enormous. Come on. There we go. That's the solid, that's where I'm going. Merge and duplicate and save. Oh, no heavy vignette. Yes, I completely agree. But I like the depth that it's giving me on this. I need to get away from that Teletubby, AstroTurf, even lit thing that's going on. All right, so the sky, I like the sky, but I need my light source. And I can't remember where. I need to look like at my website so that I can remember where I've had a bright, and I don't actually have a lot of directional open sky kind of. Let's see. See, this is where I'll play around with that for sure. I'm gonna write that down. Thank you. Okay, so I need my light source, and other than that, this is in pretty good shape. For this session, I do have some more traditional portraits that I need to edit as well. If the sky would just cooperate, maybe give us a little storm with some sun afterwards, that would be great. My concern with that is that I is that I tend to take sky pictures with my cell phone, which is a bad habit. Shouldn't do that. But the lights, once I get that light source in there and then I can draw out with dodging and burning, I think we'll be in a really good spot. Oh, okay, wait a second. When we went to, what year was that? We went to California. Here we go. I got some sky pictures. Because what else do you do? Okay, so that might be lots of sky, not exactly what I'm looking for. I need that. That might actually. Let's try that one, 39.80. Let me pop this into the other folder. And then open that in here. And I might end up having to, in fact, let me open this first. I might end up having to go with a different crop. Okay, so I'm going to flip this. And see what we can do to combine these. Okay, before I do that, I'm going to paste that and hide it. And I'm going to look at my crop here because they I think they did choose a 4:6 crop ratio, not a 4:6 print. So let's see where we're at. So I might want to move her back to, yeah, let's do that. All right. She is just probably gonna have to, let's see, the girl, forget-me-nots, the balloons, and we'll have to make sure we put her back where she was. Then I'm gonna have to move the shadow just a tad. And see, I went around, I said that when I was going around there to be careful that you're not leaving untreated spots and then moving stuff. So no, I'm paying for it. I'm eating my words. But it's not flattened yet, so all is well, because that would be a different story. All right, and this, because I made some pretty major changes, is going to be progress number 8. Okay, so now let's see. All right, so I'm going to move her back just a touch. The balloons, the no, wait, and the girl. So I'm going to check. And one more time. All right, now I'm really going to have to fix the, all right, that's good. I like that there, but now I'm going to have to go in here and fix my shadows. That's okay. That's a fun part. We can do that. We can handle that. Okay, don't need it that big though. Just nice deep shadow under her feet, and then let it fade out as her foot is stepping away. And then we can go in there when it's all said and done and make it blend a little bit better. All right, so let's see our sky that we added. No, wrong one. There it is. All right, I'm gonna treat it just like I treated everything. It won't be a huge difference on here, but it'll be a subtle little thing that just helps it all flow together. I haven't touched any of those, so. And then definitely need, whoops, not levels. Real dark, and I gotta go around my camera. Okay, and then I'm gonna go down in opacity and help them blend a little. I gotta go around my hair. There we go. I'm gonna duplicate that just because that's my safety blanket. And then we'll go even smaller. Okay. And then, let's see here. A little bit bigger than that. I think I like the difference in the colors. I'm going to save it as the next layer because that might be something that by the light of morning changes a little bit. So I want to have different options there. Uh-oh. So we're going to keep the balloons out. We'll delete those. Definitely delete that mess. We'll go ahead and move this down. Delete those. Merge those. And actually merge those. And then save this as the next version, which is 10. And then, okay, I'm going to duplicate this one and duplicate this one and duplicate this one and see about merging these just experimentally. And then I'm going to save this as the next version. We can always go back, which is like my security blanket, knowing that. And I can think of 2 images both composites that I've had to actually go back in and grab an old version. Okay, and then I'm going to get a bigger one. Not that big though. Let's go at 100. Maybe not. Maybe that blue sky is what's messing me up here. So let's go really small, not really small. And then even smaller. And then evens. There are a lot of sirens outside. What's happening? And then kind of a medium and 50%, and just kind of make sure that that and then I'm going to duplicate this layer and hide one, and then work on, now this might take a few. We'll go a little bit bigger. No. How about ridiculously bigger? And then smaller. So I don't know how I feel. Normally in the studio, these strong beams of light are what I absolutely love. But I'm finding that not to be the case so much with this. So let's So there we've got a nice strong light beam, and then we'll just go a little all right, I'm gonna go with this. I'm going to flatten completely and duplicate, and then save it as a completely new version so that I can go in and dodge and burn, which is, whoops, I just skipped a whole version altogether. We're at version 12. 13 is my lucky number, so I feel good about this. All right, so I'm gonna do some big sweeping, I'm gonna do an extra duplication actually, because sometimes I get carried away. Oh, yay! Follower, thank you. I don't know why I jump every time that happens. It hasn't happened that often, so I appreciate it. Okay, so this is actually a little bit easier, and I want this white bright cloud to be just like spotlight. So I've got a nice, it's subtle. I want everything near the beam to have like a little touch of excitement. Was that a little much? That might have been a little much. Hello from Portugal. Nice. What's the weather like in Portugal? Very well, you know what? I welcome stalkers as long as they are followers too. I appreciate them even. I'll take it. Okay. So I'm gonna go a little bit. Good. That's good. I'm glad to hear. Okay, that's better. So I'm just gonna give each balloon a little kiss of brightness on the beam side, so that it's getting a nice symbolic glow. And these two that are floating away are actually going to have dates attached to tags. And I just realized I love the community too. I'm very, very new, and I appreciate the welcome and the help, and I need it. Okay, let's see here. So we're getting to be a good spot here. This is starting to really feel like a story. I know that I need to work on this mess that is. So let's do a little bitty teeny tiny. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to get, my family is going to invade the living room here any second. What time's the Super Bowl start? What time is the dip cracked open? That's what I need to know. That is a really light or really wide. There we go. Oh, okay. Oh, I missed the national anthem. Oh, I'm sorry. Except you guys are probably watching. If any of my children are watching, you guys can go ahead. And if you're not, shame on you. Okay, well, I didn't make quite as much progress on this as I was hoping, but we're getting there, and I'll definitely not a big deal in Portugal. It's not like, it's really not here either. Not, sometimes it is. I'm actually excited about this halftime show because it's like my heyday music. Yay. Oh, I'm getting excited. This is my favorite part of a composite. Okay, so I might end up just taking the strings off altogether and just doing it by hand because they're kind of a mess, and I probably should have done that anyway. But we will see what we can do here. Let's do, no, even that's too much. We'll go 1 pixel. Hey, dang it. It's coming. That's good. Well, maybe, you know what? Maybe we get more than 1. That's what I'm going with. Okay. You know what? I'm going to duplicate this and see if... The problem with this that I should have actually handled before I flattened it, but I got excited, is the color. And there is a solid chance that I'm just going to have to erase these and start over again. But I don't go down that easily. There we go. I'm just kind of smudging these. That's okay. Let's see, before we even do the rest of them, let me see if that's even what. There's not an awesome flow there. They're so minor. Why didn't I just fix that? This one is a red hot mess. You know what? I'm just going to go a little ham here. Thank you. Thank you so much for keeping me company and the feedback and your snake picture. I appreciate it. Go Bengals. I don't know what LUT is. Can you explain that to me? I'm going to feel like, I'm going to be like, dang it, I should have known that. See, oh my gosh, if I could have just, I'm just gonna need to erase these puppies and start over. Lookup table, is that Photoshop? I don't know. I should know that. I grew up with Photoshop. Like, I started when it didn't have a number, but I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, let's see, layer, flatten. I guess 13 was not actually my lucky number this time, so we're gonna go to 14. But I like where the direction I'm heading. I am gonna probably have to, oh, okay. I don't do videos yet. I'm interested. There will be a learning curve for sure. But I think this is where I'll wrap it up for tonight because I want some dip, and if I don't get in there, they're gonna eat it all. So get excited for I do a lot of gradient maps. A lot, because I'm colorblind, so I rely on that pretty heavily. But come back, because I'm on a deadline with this. Come back tomorrow. Thank you so much for following. Follow me on here. Subscribe on YouTube. And I really appreciate it. And I'm excited. So happy Valentine's Eve. Happy Super Bowl. Happy Sunday in general. Thank you guys. Have a good one. Thank you. You too.
Subscribe to my mommy. Please.